Welcome to My Zone Online School. My name is Teacher Mutsa. Get your education booklet in our daily newspaper, street sales, or at your school every Monday to Thursday for pre-primary up until grade 3. The lessons are for listening or watching online. Inside the newspapers, there is an insert of the lesson booklet. Please cut the top of the lesson booklet with a pair of scissors and fold it for ready to use. But there is more. We are also available on our online platforms, MyZone and Zoshi Facebook pages, and in addition, our website, Zoshi Online. Hello everyone and welcome to My Zone Online School. My name is Teacher Mutsa and thank you so much for joining me today. Our theme this week is occupations and autumn. And before we get into any lessons, boys and girls, we need to sanitize. Remember, when you're sanitizing, you are actually trying to protect yourself and the people around you. So it's important that you sanitize regularly. Make sure your hands are dry before you touch anything else. For today's lesson, we will be talking about subtraction, problem solving, and numbers. For our first lesson today, boys and girls, let us turn to page 12. On page 12, we are going to be doing subtraction. But not just any subtraction, my dear children. We are going to be doing subtraction with borrowing. Now, I know we've done this before, but we're going to do only 2 together. And I would like you to please listen and follow me before you try and do it yourselves. So let's take a look at the board. Now, what is important about subtraction with borrowing is that we make sure that we know which ones are our tens and which ones are our units. In this case, we have our tens and we have our units. So that is the first thing you need to do. You need to make sure that you know where your tens sit and where your units sit as well. After that, you can start. Starting from your units, you say 2 minus 9. 2 minus 9? It can't, because 2 is smaller than 9. So what is going to have to happen is that we go to Mr. Tens and we say, Mr. Tens, please can we borrow 1 10? And Mr. Tens will look and say, okay, I'm going to give you 1 10. So that means he is going to give us 1, which means we cancel the 9, and that 9 becomes an 8. And then we give that tens to units, and it becomes 12. Now we know we can subtract. So we now say 12 minus 9. And 12 minus 9, you can use your fingers or you can use your number line. For us, we are going to count backwards. And we're going to count backwards until we get to 9. Let's use our fingers. So we are going to say 12 is already there. So we're counting backwards until we get to 9. 11, 10, 9. So that means it is 3. So we are going to write our number 3 under Mrs. Units. Then after that, we are going to continue with our subtraction. Remember, we cancelled this one and gave it to Mrs. Units. So instead of having 9, we have 8. So our sum now says 8 minus 8. And 8 minus 8, my dear children, is, well done, it's 0. So we are not going to write anything here, which means our final answer is 3. Now let's say our complete sum. 92 minus 89 equals 3. Well done, everyone, if you managed to do that. Remember, when you are borrowing, don't forget to cancel out the tens and put the new number, which is 1 less, and give 110 to Mrs. Units. Now let's try another one. This time, we are going to start with putting our tens, and then we put our units on top so that we don't get confused. Remember, every time we are subtracting or adding like this, we always start with Mrs. Units. So let us read. It says, let's read the whole sum first before we do Mrs. Units. It says 84 minus 56. So that is what we are trying to figure out. Now we're going to break it down by starting with Mrs. Units. We say 4 minus 6. It can't, because 4 is smaller than 6. So we go to Mr. Tens and we say, Mr. Tens, please can we borrow 110? And he will look at us and say, okay, I'm going to give you 110. So he is going to take 1 from his bag, cross it out, and write the new number, which is the number in front of 8, and that is 7. Then he's going to take the 1 and give it to Mrs. Units. Now our new number will say 14 minus 6. 14 minus 6. Now we can use our fingers to count. We're going to start by counting backwards from the number 13, which is the one in front of 14. So we're going to use our fingers and we say, remember we're getting to 6. 13, 14, together everyone. Uh-oh, now I have to start again because I was counting forward instead of backwards. Silly teacher. So we're going to count backwards, okay? So we start from 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. So we are now at 6. Now we need to count how many fingers we actually have. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that means our answer is 8. Good job, everyone. Now we move on to Mr. Tens. But remember, we took 1 from his bag. So it is no longer 8, but 7. So let's read 7 minus 5. If we say 7 minus 5, we can still use our fingers. We have 7 and we are going to take away 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we count what is left. 1, 2. So our answer is 2. Now our sum is complete. Let's read our sum in total. 84 minus 56 equals 28. Well done, everyone. Now I'd like you to please remember, you don't always have to borrow, only when the sum cannot happen, because the first number is too small. Like 4 was too small to subtract from 6. Now, let's make sure that when we do our borrowing, we cancel the number from the tens and we put the new number. And don't forget to add the 10 that we have been given to the unit. Have fun with that one and please take your time. But before we go there, let's now move on to number 13, page 13. On page 13, we are talking about problem solving. And this time, I'm not going to do all of them with you, just number 2. Now, remember, with a problem, you first need to read the story so that you understand what it is all about. And then you read it a second time so you can get your numbers and decide whether you are adding or subtracting. And then after that, you are going to read it a third time to make sure that what you did was correct and that your answer is also correct. So let us read number 2 together. It says, Jeff has 558 contract workers. 116 workers are builders and 323 are tilers. How many workers are not builders or tilers? Wow, this one seems a little tricky. It seems like we have to do 2 things, but let's just make sure. Let's read it again. This time we're focusing on our numbers. Jeff has 558 contract workers. 116 workers are builders and 323 are tilers. How many workers are not builders or tilers? So what we are going to first do is we are going to first take all 3 numbers and write them down so that we understand what is happening. So let's take a look at the board. We are told that 585 of them are the contract workers. And then we are also told that the 116 of them are the builders. And then after that, we are also told that 323 of them are tilers. So these are the numbers that we have. But what we want to find out is, if we are saying there are 583, how many of them are not builders or tilers? So that is what we want to find. So the first thing we're going to do, boys and girls, is we're going to add the builders and the tilers, because we want to know how many they are all together. And then the answer we get from the builders and the tilers, we are going to use it for the next step. So we already know that we have 558, so we can rub this away. What we want to know now is how many we have when we have both the builders and the tilers. So we are going to add. We will start by saying 6 plus 3. So 6 plus 3, we're going to add. We can use our fingers. We can say 6, 7, 8, 9. So we know that we have 9. So let us write our 9. And then we are moving on by saying 1 plus 2. Now 1 plus 2, my dear children, we already know, and our answer is 3. So far so good, everyone. And then after that we say 1 plus 3. 1 plus 3, my dear boys and girls, is 4. So now we know that the builders plus the tilers equal 439. So we want to take that number now and move on by doing the next step of our sum. Remember, the problem is that we don't know how many are not tilers or builders. So what we now have to do is take our number and subtract it from the total contract workers. Now the total contract workers are 558. So we have 558, and then we are going to subtract the answer we got from before, which is 439. Don't forget to put your subtraction sign when you are subtracting. So we are going to start with the units. Let's just put our hundreds, tens and units on top so that we don't get confused. This one is for our units, and then we have our tens next, and then lastly we have our hundreds. So we are going to start from our units going this way, and remember we are subtracting. So we say 8 minus 9. It can't. So that means we are going to be borrowing. And we go to Mr. Tens and say, Mr. Tens, please can we have 1 10? And Mr. Tens will look in his bag and say, okay, you can have 1 10. So he will cross out from his bag and write his new number, which is the number before 5, which is 4. And then we will give 1 10 to 8, which makes it 18. Now we can continue. 18 minus 9. 18 minus 9. Now we can start by using your number line, or you can still use your fingers. You need to get from 18 to 9, counting backwards. So let us do that. We have the next number, counting backwards, is 17, 16, 15, 14, 12, 11, 10, 9, and we're there. We are there. Are we there? Let's try again. So we're going to go from 17 going to 9. 17, let's go. 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 10, 11, 10, 9. Oh, teacher. So now we need to count our fingers. We have how many fingers? Because remember we counted from 17 to 9. So we need to know how many fingers do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we have 9 fingers, which means our answer is 9. I hope you're still following. Then now we go to the next one. For the tens, We now say 4 minus 3 because we have crossed out our 5. And 4 minus 3 equals 1. And then after that, we're going to our hundreds and they say 5 minus 4. So we're going to have 5 and we take away 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 are gone. And that means our answer is 1. So our total answer after we said 558 minus 439 will give us 119. Woo, that was a long one, but I am sure you are going to get your answers. So when it comes to your problem solving, make sure that you are double checking on what to do. Sometimes you don't even need to do 2 steps like what we did. Other times you even need to do 3 steps. Just make sure you read and understand. Take your time with both exercises, boys and girls, and I will see you soon after our advert break.
Follow us on My Zone Facebook Active Kids to watch your daily lesson and other fun activities with Zoe and Zoshi.
For our exercise now, boys and girls, let us turn to page 14. On page 14, we have a lot to do. The first thing that we're going to do is find the missing numbers. Now, this one is going to be very easy for us because all we need to do is, instead of adding, we are going to be subtracting. So we are going to be using the subtraction method to find our missing number. We are going to do A and H together. So let's take a look at the board. Now A says 2 plus dash equals 20. So what we are now going to do is first write our 20 sticks. So we can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So this is 20 sticks. And now we are going to take away 2. So we're going to cross out 2. 1, 2. Now we need to count the rest so that we know which one is our missing number. We will start from the one before and let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So we have 18, which makes 18 our answer. Then we are going to do the same for H, but instead of having a missing number here, where 18 was, we are now going to find the first number that is missing. Now this one we can do by counting backwards from our answer. We can count backwards 3. So we have 15 and we're going to count backwards 3 numbers. So 15 is already there. Then we say 14, 13, 12. The last number we land on is our answer. Let's do it again. 15 is already there. So we need 3 numbers counting backwards. So we say from 15 the next number is 14, 13, 12. So we know that our answer is 12. So you can use either your sticks or count backwards with your fingers. You will get the answer. Just make sure that you use the subtraction method or the counting back method. Now, let's move on to number 2, the second part of your exercise. Number 2, we are talking about rounding off. Now, rounding off to the nearest 10 is very, very fun, but we just need to remember some rules. So, I'm going to do number A and we'll do the last one together as well, F. So, let's take a look at the board. So, A is asking us to find the nearest 10 for the number 44. Now, before we write the number 44, here is a simple rule you need to remember. If the unit is either 4, 3, 2, or 1, we are going to choose the number 10s that is the one they passed already. But if the unit is 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, we're going to go forward to the 10s. Now, rounding off to the nearest 10 uses decade numbers, and we have our decade numbers here. Let's count them together. 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. Now, these are our decade numbers, which means that the answers we are looking for will be a decade number because we are counting in tens, rounding off to the nearest 10. So, number A is asking us to look for 44. Now, 44 cannot be near 0 or 10 or 20 or 30 because it starts with 44. So that means we are looking at these two houses. So between these two houses is where we want to see where 44 is going to be. The tree 44, if we look carefully and write our 44, we need to look carefully at the unit. Now, the unit for 44 is a 4, which means that instead of going forward to 50, our answer is going to go backwards to 40. So, if we round off 44 to the nearest tens, it is going to be 40. Now let's try the last one, the one that we are saying is F. F is saying 95. So what we need to do first is look for 90. We know that there is no 90 between 0 and 10, or 10 and 20, or 20 and 30, all the way going down to 90. And remember, we choose the two houses where the number will be, and it's between 90 and 100. So we want to find out where the tree 95 will be. So we write our 95 and then we look carefully at the unit. Now the unit has a 5 in it. So we come back to our rule where it says any numbers that have 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9 as a unit will go forward to the house in front of it. So 95 will not go backwards because it has a 5. Instead, 95 will go forward to house 100, which means 95 to the nearest tens is 100. Now I want you to please, if you can, draw your beautiful houses and use your decade numbers to try and get your answers. Remember, if the unit is less or 4, 3, 2, or 1, you have to go back to the house in the front. Back to the house behind the number. But if the number or the unit is 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, you are going to go forward to the house in front of it. Take your time and ask someone to help you. Then when you are done, you can go to number 3. Number 3 is asking you to write the next 2 numbers in the pattern. Now I know this pattern looks simple, but before you find those 2 numbers, there is something you need to do, which is to actually find how many numbers are in between each of the numbers you can see. So let us please take a look at the board and we will do A together. Now A has 57, 59 and 61. But before we can go to the next 2 numbers, we need to find the pattern. So we need to know how many numbers are in between 57 and 59. So we are going to count by hopping and hopping and hopping. And then we will count how many hops we did to find out the number 59. So we're going to start at 57 and we're going to hop. Then we go to 58, 59. So how many hops did we do? We did 1, 2 hops. So we know that between 57 to 59, there are 2 hops. Now we're going to hop from 59 to 61. So we're going to start and say the next number, which is 60. 61. How many hops did we do? Let's count. 1 hop, 2 hops. So we also did 2 hops, which means that there are 2 numbers in between each of the numbers. Now that we know the pattern, we can complete it by using the same method of hopping. So we're going to hop 2 numbers. From 61, we will say 62, 63. So our next number is 63. And then we make sure that we did the 2 hops, 1, 2. Very good. So our answer is correct. From 63, we also need to hop 2 hops. So we say 64, 65. And that is our next answer. So we will say 65. Let's count our hops to make sure that we did the right thing. So we say 1 hop, 2 hops. Now we have completed our pattern. Please make sure that you take your time and be neat with your hops. Remember, this is a hop, so you will count this as 1 hop. Let me do it properly on the board. This one is our hop. So this is 1 hop. Take your time with all the exercises. Make sure you keep on checking on your pattern for number 3, and I will see you soon after the advert break.
Do you have children in the age range of 5 to 6 years and want to participate in our school booklet program? Please contact us on 081 74 3759 and we will put you on our distribution list for the attention of pre-primary schools. Topics include family, summer, culture, traditions and houses, transport and communications, occupations, autumn, and more. We distribute countrywide in over 7 different languages.
We have now come to the end of our lesson, boys and girls, and I hope that you had fun. Remember, if you're not sure or you don't know, you can always ask an adult for help. Just make sure that you finish the exercises by yourself. So now we are done with our lesson. It's very important for us to sanitize. Make sure that you make sanitizing a regular thing. But if you do not have sanitizer all the time, you can wash your hands with soap and water as well. I wonder, I've not seen Sashi in a long time. Maybe he's outside. Oh, there he is. Hello, Sashi. So from Sashi and I, we would like to say thank you for joining us today and goodbye.
Our online school will help you along the way. Find us at www.zoshi.online and download the booklet. Follow us on Facebook to never miss a video. Subscribe to our Zoshi Telegram channel if you want to receive daily updates. Proudly sponsored by the Ministry of Education, Arts and Culture, Namibian Community Trust, UNICEF, My Zone Online School, Amos Meerkat Syllabus, and Capricorn Foundation.